Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the 24th episode of the Totally Unqualified Podcast. Somebody's distracting us.
He's licking my ear.
Somebody little and small.
But boy, is he cute.
The cutest.
All right, let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Why am I rushing us?
I don't know. You're rushing.
Well, because I hate talking about the dog. No one gives a crap about the dog.
Okay, his 100 Instagram followers disagree.
And big news this week, Linus graduated from first grade.
Yeah, we'll put some pictures
Oh my gosh, he wore a tie and a graduation cap.
Yeah.
And guess what?
He got his diploma in basic manners.
And they also posted him on the dog training website. So he's now famous.
Instagram.
Oh, on Instagram, sorry.
He's not famous.
He's Instagram famous. Okay. Let's kick off with some housekeeping. First of all, if you're watching this, you'll notice the beautiful flowers that are on my table and in back of me. They're spectacular hydrangeas that Ava brought home from an event that she was working at. And I have to say, I don't know how the florist did it. I'd like to know, because these hydrangeas are over a week old and they look fantastic.
Really? I thought that they were shedding a little.
No, but look
those
at how
are good.
fab
Yeah.
they look. Just fantastic. I love hydrangeas. Okay, so housekeeping. I want to talk about Natalie's episode last week.
Natalie got good feedback.
She did. Natalie got great feedback, and we were talking about how do you get ahead and how do you act when you're a boss. And we had Cousin Suze, who is one of our best listeners. She's always writing to me and telling me what she thought of the episode. She wrote me something really interesting. She said she would love to hear a conversation between two guys your age and a seasoned professional to hear if they have the same issues, concerns, and outlooks.
I mean, we could get Will on the podcast.
Well, Will doesn't work.
Yeah, Will
He needs
doesn't
somebody who's
work.
working. But I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I do too.
So I thought that was interesting. She also said she feels like you touched on this, but she really wanted to say that a really good manager listens, really listens. And the manager will hear what the assistant or the junior person is saying and then put into action something, even if it's very small, to make the assistant feel worthwhile and like they're contributing. And I was thinking about that and thinking, there was a summer that our friend Pumpkin, her niece, interned at one of the big consulting firms.
Yeah.
And everything was on Zoom.
Right.
And she, as the intern, piped in early on and said, it would be really great if everyone turned on their camera.
Yeah.
And they implemented this for her entire area.
Yeah.
It was policy that you had to then have your camera on, because she explained that she didn't know who anybody was.
Yeah.
And that it made it much less interactive.
Yeah, and she felt heard and
Totally.
They valued her opinion.
And they did it. So I think that's really good advice, that when you're trying to climb the ladder, just giving some input, and even something small, that's big oftentimes. And then the last thing Cousin Susie said is, not all jobs have assistants.
Yes.
And we know that, right? She is a dental hygienist, and she's like, guess what? I do it all. I clean up after. I got to take care of the patients. I got to do everything. And so that was interesting to me, because if you're in a profession where it's a little, as an assistant, you're rising.
Yeah.
But in an area where you're junior, but you're doing everything, I wonder if that's harder or easier.
I think it depends on what the steps are to then, I think everybody's trajectory is a little bit different.
Or you thrown in and it's just figure it out, because you got to do it all.
Sometimes it's just the vibe of the company.
Yes, or the office.
Yeah.
So I thought that was all good. So that was interesting to me. And I do want to pose a question as my other housekeeping thing to everyone. I was thinking about a new segment for the pod, and it's called I Heard It in New York, or I Heard It on the Street, or Heard on New York Street, something like that.
Oh my God. Okay. The names need to be workshopped.
Okay. Every week, I'm roaming around the city and I hear something that I cannot get over that I heard.
There is actually an Instagram account called Overheard New York that does that exact thing.
I can't get over it. So can I just tell you what happened yesterday?
Oh, God.
On the subway. on the subway, two young women finished their high school day, clearly high school students, discussing piercings. And this was how the conversation went. My cousin got a piercing on her tongue, and her tongue swelled up, and she couldn't talk or eat or do anything for like a week. Oh my God, really? Yeah, really. Then what happened? It went away and she was fine. Well, then the other one says, well, for me, I decided I wanted a piercing to pierce my nose a few years ago. So I took an earring from Target that I bought and I pierced my own nose.
Oh
But
my God,
then
that's psychotic.
it got stuck and it got infected. So she had to go to the doctor and they had to remove
The earring?
the earring from
Oh
the
my
nose.
God.
And then the last part is I was getting off the subway. Then the other friend said, wait, I have something else to tell you. My aunt has a piercing in her eyebrow, and she was putting on a sweater, and the zipper caught the
Holy
piercing,
shit.
and it ripped off her whole eyebrow.
Oh my God, I would throw up and
And that
freak
is
out.
the conversation I heard on the train.
Okay,
New
I'm
York
not
City.
opposed to this segment, but I do feel as though you cannot take all of the candor you hear and it has to be exceptional. Like, that was fine.
Well, I was just like, I don't want to hear about screaming about piercing ripping off of eyebrows. It wasn't as good, you're saying, as the woman who said to the 5-year-old, can your mom follow me on
Yeah, I
Instagram?
mean, that one was a little bit funnier, I will say.
All right. It wasn't funny. It was just, this is what they were talking about.
I know. I don't love this one, but I like the idea of the
All
segment.
right,
I
we're
think
gonna
we
do
can
maybe
workshop it a
Overheard in New
bit.
York, but make our own version.
I think we can workshop it a little bit.
Okay. I think that's the end of housekeeping.
No,
but-
our housekeeping is not
Oh,
done.
no. We got a listener call.
Oh, we got a call.
Wait, I do want to say one other thing.
Yeah.
People are still talking about this man engagement ring situation. And by the way,
I can't stop hearing about it. Seriously.
your dad told me he has talked to a few people who are bringing this up as well. Like, people are talking about male engagement rings.
And they're not wearing them.
I know.
Did Dad say he would have worn one?
I didn't ask him.
You said you were going to.
I forgot. But I do think maybe Natalie's boyfriend might want to come on and talk about
Yeah,
this.
he said that he does want to come
Maybe we
on.
should have him call in.
Oh, yeah.
Can you call in, Rolf?
Why don't you just call in on the speak pipe?
Yeah, Rolf, call in and tell us what you think of it.
We have a speak pipe at the link in our Instagram bio.
And we got a lot of calls this week, right?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
All right. From the big dog.
Oh, it's from Eric again.
Hello, it's Eric, Dad, the big dog here, with a comment about the man engagement ring. Just want to say, I see an engagement ring not as property, but as a sign of commitment. And a man is making a commitment to a woman. So I would be perfectly fine getting an engagement ring. It just could cause a little trouble if you're talking about an engagement ring and a wedding band. So that I'm getting an engagement ring when we get engaged, and I'm having a wedding band when I get married. A little too many rings for me. So what I would like personally is getting sort of a one kind of thing where I get maybe the wedding band that I put on at the time of the engagement. But I certainly, I'm just not a ring guy and I'm not a jewelry guy. So I wouldn't want to have too many and too much. So the other thing is we were at a wedding this past weekend, as you know, and it's kind of nice tradition at the wedding when the man and woman put their wedding bands on each other. So just another angle to think about. Like I said, no problem doing it whenever my partner preferred, and I don't have any problem. I don't see it as property. I see it as just a commitment. So happy to make that commitment, at the time of the engagement.
So he answered our question. Dad is really talking in binary terms.
I know, it
Weddings
was very
aren't just men and
upsetting.
women.
Eric,
That's
you're
so
really upsetting. You
exclusive
said
of
man
you.
and
That was
woman.
so crazy.
That pissed me off.
Yeah, that was an odd one.
I don't like that. Person in person, Dad.
Okay, or just people, Mom.
People.
Like you go to the extreme, and Dad. But also, I understand what you're saying. I do think that I did bring up the idea of a less nice ring to wear as the engagement ring as a placeholder for the wedding band. I'm really tired of this topic with Dad, because we've discussed this to no end, and now we know Dad would have worn his ring. Do you have anything else to say?
No, I think a lesser band is a good idea, and I do think when you see a couple exchange rings, it is a nice
Yeah, and I don't think that it should prevent that from happening. Also, Dad, not being a jewelry guy was a great ad, but like, does everyone need to know? Does everyone need to know that
No,
you're
I
a
thought that
jewelry
was
guy?
funny that Dad's not a jewelry guy. He's not a jewelry guy.
But like, it's not like it's so unusual. Like, I feel like most men aren't jewelry men.
No, that's not true. A lot of people are.
I think it's so rare when I see good jewelry on a guy.
Good jewelry or like leather, like a lot
Like
of guys
like
wear leather bracelets.
yeah,
and
but like
things.
good jewelry, like a good item.
Yeah, I'm not one for the signet ring.
Male jewelry is lacking.
I think George Clooney might wear a signet
Oh
ring.
God. Okay, let's move on.
Love and hate.
All right, so I'll start with my hate. My hate of this week literally just happened. I did not have braces. I did have Invisalign, and so I was never somebody to experience this process. But for the first time in my life today, I had to get a mold of my teeth made. And I always thought that it would be like enjoyable and like maybe fun because like the texture and whatever, it was horrible.
Nothing good about it. You gag and
It
you
got
feel like
all
you're
over
suffocating.
my face.
Yeah, suffocated.
Horrible.
And then they rip it out.
the cast, he was
Yes.
struggling to pull out the cast.
And then you
too.
feel like your teeth are getting pulled out.
Yeah,
I hate
yeah.
the whole thing.
I thought it was going to be way more enjoyable and pleasant than what it was. But, you know, it's rare that in your day-to-day life you do something for the first time, and that I hadn't done. So I had a new experience today, but I hated it.
Yeah, it's gross. My hate this week is I've decided I now staunchly hate driving in New York City.
Oh my God. Totally. The traffic has been unbearable. The
Not even the
congestion
traffic. I just want to
pricing.
talk to people about the fact that people walk, and they always have, just randomly crossing the street. People walk the wrong way, but now you have electric bikes, which we never had in the city
Hate.
before. And so these delivery people are riding the wrong way on a one-way street or making a turn where you cannot see them because you never would expect that somebody would be coming the wrong way. It is so scary to drive now, and I'm a good driver. and
Big
it is
Mama don't
scary.
like that.
I do not. I'm an excellent driver, I will say, and I freaking hate driving in the city now. It's so dangerous. I feel terrified.
It's
driving.
scary.
Yeah, it's very bad. And I would assume that a lot of delivery people and a lot of pedestrians are getting hurt. I have seen a pedestrian knocked to the ground by a delivery person on a motorbike.
Oh my God. This is not funny at all. But I did see this businessman crossing the street, and he ate it. And to be honest,
Did he trip?
he tripped and fell.
Oh my God.
And to be honest, like, it's not funny when somebody falls, and like, really, like, I have been known to have a bad response to awkward things. I'm known to be a laugher, and I'm so glad I wasn't close to this man because I did laugh. Like, he was fine.
Fallen.
I've fallen too. He was fine, but like, he had a really big belly, and his belly kind of like bounced, like he kind of went, like he kind of like, he had a little bit of a like, I don't know, he like caught a little bit of air
Oh my God.
because of his belly.
Did he get up? Was he hurt?
He was completely fine. Nobody helped him.
Really? I fell once, and I was with Dad, so he helped me when we were young. And then I fell on my own, and no one helped me, and it was a pretty bad fall. And then remember when Mare fell?
Oh, I thought
So
you were
my
gonna say when
friend-
Pumpkin fell with the phone
Oh, right.
recently.
No, that was and then my friend Mare fell with the phone. We were walking from work, and she fell. And this is a joke between us now for years. That instead of going to help her, she was holding her phone in her hand. I ran to rescue the phone. It was just because I didn't want someone to grab her phone and take it. But now she says
I've
I care more
fallen
about her
before.
phone than
I've
about her.
fallen before.
Yeah, we all have fallen. It's not fun.
It's not fun. It was a little bit funny
I was
though.
bloody. I have
Oh
to
my
say.
God. This guy wasn't. It wasn't that bad of a fall. Okay.
Want my hate? Oh, that was
No,
my
you
hate.
did your
Sorry,
hate.
want my love? Oh, your love.
No, it seems like you want to do your
I'm
love.
sorry, I'm getting confused, as usual. I'll do my love. My love this week. Tony Awards, absolutely amazing.
10 out of 10.
Cynthia Erivo, whoa.
I don't even like her, and I thought it was great.
She was absolutely fantastic.
Wait, I saw some shade. Wait, before I say this, let me look it up. You keep going, because I don't want to say this.
I've never been a real Broadway person, and a lot of my friends love Broadway, and I've always been like, okay, I'll go to a couple shows a year, and then I had kids, and I never went. And now I'm really into it, and I see a lot of Broadway. I gotta say, the talent, incredible. I thought the Tony Awards, incredible. Audra McDonald, I know I've talked about her before, in Gypsy, made me cry every time I see it. I even cry talking about it. And the musical that won, Maybe Happy Ending, I saw twice. And you and I saw it together with Laura and Maya.
It was so good.
It was incredible with Darren Criss. I did feel like the Tonys were a Glee reunion because you had Jonathan Groff and Darren Criss and Leah Michele. You had a lot of those people there, which was kind of interesting. But that's Cynthia Erivo. Wow. And I think everybody should start seeing more Broadway and more local shows because talent's incredible.
Yes.
Yeah. What's the dish?
I was going to say, Cola Scola had like a shady response to Nicole Scherzinger's win. Did you
really?
see that?
I did not. He is in, they are in Oh Mary, which is supposed to be so funny. I can't get tickets because they've been sold out.
So it seems as though I'm reading a random The Tab. Ever heard of that?
No.
Okay. Whilst getting interviewed, Cola Scola, who won blah, 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 Cole won for Oh Mary, reacted in real time to the announcement of Nicole Scherzinger winning her first Tony. There's a lot of stunned silence before Scola says, okay, wow. Another person says, the speculating is over. And then Scola replies and says, the speculating is over. Wow, 4 years, 4 more years. This seemingly shady nod to Donald Trump and the MAGA regime's mantra of 4 more years before he was reelected, beating Kamala Harris. Nicole Scherzinger found herself in big drama and controversy when she just months ago commented on a post from disgraced comedian Russell Brand. Russell posted a picture in a Trump-inspired cap that said, "Make Jesus first again." And Nicole had commented, "Where do I get this hat?" Mm-hmm. So it seems...
that doesn't sound very magnanimous of Cola Scola, possibly. I mean, everybody's allowed to have their views. She was good. You saw her, right?
Nicole Scherzinger, as of now, has yet to respond. I just feel like the comment wasn't in reference to that. But I did see that was Cole's response.
I don't really understand the comment, I'll be honest.
Cole said 4 more years, but I don't know if that was in reference to somebody that they wanted to win losing. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes, I hear what you're saying. Like,
I didn't read that as a Trump thing.
I
read that more as like, I saw the video where Cole says 4 more years, and I thought like 4 more years until your friend wins.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
I didn't. Okay, but I knew that there was drama there.
You loved Nicole Scherzinger.
I hated her acceptance speech. God, she seemed like a freak.
New York Times loved it.
Hated. I thought it was totally staged. When she starts crying.
I know, it was a little dramatic, overly dramatic. I found my people.
And I would like to thank God first.
I found my people. Don't make fun of God. People like God.
I'm not saying that it was bad that she thanked God. I'm saying, why is it the most dramatic thing I've ever seen? Thank who you want to thank, but... And my mother, like, oh my God. Yeah, but to be honest, like, she kind of is Norma Desmond. Like, she was in the Pussycat Dolls. She fell off. Like, what was she on? Like, America's X Factor.
She was a judge on
Like, she was a judge on X Factor. Like, that kind of feels like a place where your career naturally, like, falls off.
Yes.
And she's back and she won a Tony. I mean, that's pretty incredible.
You loved her, though. You thought she was really good.
So amazing. So amazing. Seriously, like, she deserved to win.
I do want to bring up one more thing. The New York Times critic did say they would like to see Jonathan Groff because he's a true entertainer. He's in the Bobby Darin show, and he's apparently sweating and spitting all over everybody, but bringing down the house. So... would you want to see him host the Tony? See, I think she should do it again. She was really good.
Cynthia?
Yeah.
Oh, Cynthia should keep getting the gig.
I agree.
Jonathan Groff is too much of a narcissist to do that.
You think?
He's obsessed with himself. I think the whole thing would be the Jonathan
Do you
show.
know him? You don't know that
He
he's
just
obsessed
totally
with himself.
seems like a
Ava,
big fat
you
narcissist.
cannot say something about somebody and
I
not
can
have
say
fact.
whatever I want.
You
He
can, but-
seems like a narcissist that spits everywhere. I'm
I
not
think-
saying he's not talented. I'm just saying that, like, what made Cynthia so good is that she played into her strengths, but engaged everybody else. Else.
Yes, I thought.
I feel
thought
like I'm going to be on the
writing-
Jonathan Groff show.
The writing was incredible. Yeah, I think you might be
Unreal.
on the Jonathan Groff
Right,
show.
so
Yeah.
now you're agreeing with me.
Well,
this happens every time. You know what?
No,
I'm
I'm
changing
not-
my hate of the week. My hate of the week is that I always say something, then you combat it, and then you circle back around and realize that the original point that I made was a good one.
I don't fully agree. I don't know that he's a narcissist. I do think, though, that he seems like one of these performers who does like the spotlight, right?
Whatever.
Okay, what's your love?
My love of the week is that now that the weather is starting to finally get good, I love that I'm able to just go sit in the park with Liney and he gets to run free. It is so nice to be proximal to some grass, to be able to lay out in the sun, bring Liney with, and enjoy the day. I am so excited that it is Central Park season and I'm able to do so. And I wish Liney was here to share his love, but he was allowed to go off leash and play with his best friend, Bruno. Shout out, Bruno. And they were running wild in the park.
I think it's on his Instagram, isn't it?
Yes,
If you
at
follow
Linus
Liney,
Leventhal.
you can see he and his friend. It's very cute. They're jumping all over each other.
They're not just friends, they're best friends.
Best friends. Oh, look at that. We described it as a best friend.
But they are best friends. Well, this is your new fun fact. I don't know if I've said it already, but if dogs try to bite each other's ears, it means that they see each other as family, and Linus and Bruno do that to each other.
No, I was making reference to the fact that, remember, we had the episode on describing someone as a best friend?
No, I know. And what I'm saying is that that is true. And dogs even have a way to show that they feel close to each other. They bite each other's ears, which shows that
Wow,
I think
I
of you
didn't
as
know that.
family.
Oh,
You're not just my friend.
Interesting. All right, shall we go into the question?
Yes, we had another call in. That's why we've just been so active.
So great. Thanks, everybody.
So let's see. Sorry, I was doing my Nicole Scherzinger research, so I lost the speak pipe. All right. Ready for our listener question?
Okay. Hi, totally unqualified. It's your girl EJ, and I'm just calling because I would love to have Ellen and Ava's advice about when interviewing. How do you kind of successfully suss out the vibe, the culture of the company? How do you manage kind of like egos from the higher ups? What amount of ego from the higher up is like, AKA normal, or like, why AKA? Well, what percent is normal versus what's kind of like a toxic red flag? I would just like to know like what to kind of look out for in red flags in interview, and how to successfully gauge when like there's a challenge ahead of you and there's like some opportunity, but just making sure it's the right opportunity, especially since we're at a point in our career where it's really great to try many things.
Yeah.
I think it's a good question because you feel like whenever you go to an interview or something, everybody's putting their best foot forward, which they should do, but then it becomes hard to gauge the vibe of the workplace because, like, what if everybody really is miserable and, hates each other and they're just putting on a front because they need more people, they need more help? I think that it's a really hard thing to try to figure out. And
isn't that what the internet is for? So she could go to Glassdoor, right? And Glassdoor has real people reviews of the places they work.
But some companies are too small that they don't have them.
That
Some are
is true.
startups. Like, a lot of it, as much as the internet can do for you, there also is this vibe of I also felt that previous places I worked, people on the Glassdoor would complain about things, and then I would have the job, and I would understand why those might have been their complaints, but it also felt like they didn't understand what they were signing up for. Like, you kind of have to understand that the people on Glassdoor are also unreliable.
No, I know, but I think maybe what you do is try and do research. So my first thing would be research, right? What can you learn as a 360 view of the company? Go on Glassdoor. Are there websites? Are there Instagrams about companies? Do you know anybody? You could go on your LinkedIn, see if you have anyone in common, or a friend of yours has a connect to someone who works there, right? It's always best to try and find someone who currently works there, and they will give you the skinny. So to me, you want the skinny electronically, right? Go to ChatGPT, put the company in. You never know.
You're obsessed.
I am, but you never know. It just sifts through everything that makes me not have to do it, although now Google does that. So do that. So that's one thing.
If that is not an option.
If that's not an option, right. So now I'm thinking about when you get there. Like, what would be a red flag when you're sitting there in an interview?
If they're late, that's always my first red flag. If somebody is late for the interview.
I don't know. I was always late. A little late. You're busy. You got a lot of work to do.
On a Zoom interview? Most interviews these days are on Zoom.
Okay. I was always late, but okay.
An in-person interview is different, though.
It is? I don't know.
Like, if you're sitting in a waiting room rather than sitting in a Zoom.
Okay, so you're saying late.
Honestly, it would be a red flag I would be a little bit, but also, I just want to say, you were interviewing for a higher level of people.
No, I'm talking about when I was interviewing other, assistants.
Yeah, I don't like that you were late.
I know.
It's not cool.
I can't.
And the assistants are so nervous and like.
Too bad. Sorry.
Not cool.
You gotta wait. You want the job, you gotta wait.
Not cool.
Okay, anyway, moving on.
Not cool.
Okay.
I see that attitude sucks. I tried my hardest to be on time, to be here presentable.
So did I, but I also had things going on. Mm-hmm. You have more.
Yeah. Okay.
You may have a meeting.
Yeah, you're the only one.
I'm not saying I was always late.
It seems like you enjoyed being late.
I didn't care.
It's fucking rude.
Okay.
I would have been
Didn't care.
pissed.
Here's what I would say.
Okay. Our dentist is late.
Oh, it makes me so mad.
Oh, does it? Does it make you mad that our dentist runs late?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Oh.
So mad I've left. Okay, let's just get back on
No,
track.
you want to get back on track because
you're
you're
what
wrong.
you're saying. Maybe I was wrong. I hear what you're saying. Wait.
No, I was saying my red flag.
I was going to give a red flag. I think it's a red flag when an interviewer doesn't turn on their camera.
Oh my God, I would never work there.
I know people who it's happened to.
Oh my God.
And I think that is a red flag. Or if the person interviewing you is looking clearly not at you and they are doing their work, to me that is a huge red flag. That this is not a place that's going to value you.
Totally.
And this is not a place where you are going to be heard.
I also think that a really big red flag for me is making sure that whoever's talking to me knows what's going on. Like, I have been at companies where I felt like everybody was kind of all over the place and like nobody really knew what was happening, what was going on. When the person can't answer your question at the end, I think it's also a big sign. Like, even if they don't know the answer to the question, I've been asked questions in interview situations that I don't know the answer to, but you always say something. Like when they say, I don't know, like, oh my God, does nobody know what's going on here? Seriously.
I think that's a really good one because sometimes the person interviewing is like throwing the interview just because they're available, and that's not good.
No, horrible.
That's not good.
I also think, I actually think that might be my biggest one. Like, if they cannot answer your questions, which is why it's important to have well thought out questions. And also, like,
yeah, but they should be asking you stuff. If someone doesn't really, sometimes they don't really ask you about you. They just tell you about the job. And I think that is not a good manager or a good company or an employee, I guess I should say, because they should really be asking you very specific questions about your skills, right? What are you able to do? What are you not able to do? And if they're like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. Yeah, so here's the job. And then you're kind of like, wait, I never got to say anything about myself. This is weird.
I think that's weird too. I also think that it never hurts to ask, so what is the company culture like? I think a response to that question can speak volumes.
I
If
agree
there
with
is,
that.
even if there's like an or a well, then
Yes.
you're like, oh God. Like if there's hesitation, right? Like whenever I talk about my job, I always say the first thing I say is like, I'm so happy at my job. Like, you're not going to get that everywhere. But if I was not happy at my job, I would pause for a second and be like, you know,
It's also a little hard though because this one person may not speak for the whole culture, right? Like maybe they're unhappy or disenfranchised in some
right. Which is
way.
why you consistently ask that across every interview.
At this particular
Yes,
company.
you ask
Yes, I
everywhere.
agree.
You ask
I
every
agree.
single person,
Yeah.
what's the company culture like? You hope that it's consistent and you can see. Or if it isn't, then you kind of have to feel out the vibe.
Yeah, I also think keeping an eye out for the boss, like the big boss, particularly if you're interviewing at a small place, is very helpful. Seeing how the boss interacts with the other people and seeing the boss's reaction to something if you're just sitting there waiting because the person interviewing you is late. Because culture trickles down from the top, right? So a good head of a company or head of an organization trickles down how they believe they act in a way that they believe the entire organization should act,
Yeah.
right? So if you see a boss being rude to someone or not giving someone the time of day or being brusque, I think that's something to file away too.
The fuck is brusque?
You know, kind of rude.
I've never heard
Brusque?
that. Is that another one that you made up?
I didn't make it up.
What was the one last week? Toodle?
No, tout. No,
Tout.
not
Tout. Brusque, BRUSK.
I think it's BR.
Wow. Marked by rude or peremptory shortness?
Yes. Preemptory. So it's like you start to talk and I cut you off and say, oh, gotta go.
Oh, do you know how you spell it?
BR with a QUE.
Yes, BRUSQUE.
I was going to say that, but you interrupted me.
Oh, wow. Okay, so yes, I totally agree with all the feedback. And I think a lot of it is also just like your gut feeling. Like, I think, do you imagine yourself within that space? Do you feel like there's something off? Do you feel like you're being, do you feel like other employees are withholding information from you? I think those are all good things to check in on.
So they seem happy. I think when you walk, you're not walking through the office. That is always helpful if you can do an in
Right,
person.
but I think that vibe is much easier.
In person.
Yeah,
it
like
is.
you can tell if a
If
company
there's
is
good
happy.
vibe.
Yeah,
I know.
Which is why Zoom interviews make it hard.
There's one other thing though that I do want to say, that sometimes maybe the vibe is bad, but the job is good. So I do think you have to weigh everything, right? Are you willing to work in a bad culture for a year because it's going to give you better skills or it's going to help you
Right.
progress in some way? So I'm not sure you should always just cut bait if you feel it's going to be bad. You just have to go in with your eyes open, knowing.
Right. Right.
That
And
it
I
might
mean,
not
it
be
also
great.
depends on what you want to get from the job. Like in the question that we got, it seems like having a strong company culture is important. Some people value
Yes.
that less.
Yes, or a strong, even if the company culture is bad, but your manager seems good,
Right.
that goes a long
Right.
way, right? As long as your person's like
Agreed.
watching out for you. I
Agreed.
think. So see how you vibe with the person you're talking to, who's going to be
Agreed.
your manager.
So this week's question
Yes, let's get into it.
is, how do different generations define success milestones? And is there really such a thing as falling behind? So I was thinking about this recently in terms of my recent breakup, because I think there were a few things that came with that. The first part is that it was my first relationship ever. And I was 21. When did we start dating? What? No, I was 21 when we started dating.
Okay. I'll take I think 22.
No. either way, whatever. I was either 21 or 22, and that felt really late, right? Like, all my friends are like, oh my God, your first boyfriend, whatever. Like, thankfully, I have friends that are on very similar timelines to me. So, like, it wasn't really like I felt like an outlier. But in the grand scheme of the world, like, I had my first boyfriend at a pretty later than a lot of people do. A lot of people date in high school, I would say. So that felt a little bit late. Then on that trajectory, like, we were together for a year and a half, which is like a pretty significant amount of time. And for a lot of people, if I was at a different point in my life, you know, that could have segued into, you know, moving in together and like taking other big steps. I felt as though I was too young, but there are people that don't feel that way and take those steps. And then thinking more into the future, like, I genuinely was convinced that, like, there was a large chance I would have gotten married to my first boyfriend, which is so insane because, like, when I think about it now, like, I am so young in the grand scheme of it all. So for my timeline, I'm like, wow, like, thinking about it now, like, wow, oh my God, I can't even believe that that was a thought in my mind. But to a lot of other people, it's like, that's not a crazy thought, you know, that you would just be with the same person that, you know, you met at a younger age. So I guess this all kind of sparked this idea of like a timeline, especially because I am one to stretch the timeline. Seriously. Like, I know the biological timeline is a thing. I already hear your friends, all of your friends are going to write in. I already know they're going to be like, well, when you want to start having kids, this is going to change and whatever. I know it. I'm calling you all out before you do it. You're going to say there's pressures from outside of you. Your body changes, this and that. It's expensive to freeze your eggs and IVF. Yes, I'm aware of all of it. And still in my mind, I'm like, the timeline's pretty long for me. Yet, I am feeling as though I know a lot of people who are pretty young, who are married, getting married in these relationships. And I know the timeline is about a bunch of things, right? It could be work milestones, right? Like, Natalie got promoted way earlier than she ever thought she was. It could be with, you know, I don't know, personal projects and those milestones. But I do think that the timeline often relates a lot to relationships and kids. And in my mind, I feel like my timeline is like, nothing is really imminent, but I don't feel as though that's the popular opinion.
Very well said. Okay. Would you like me to dig in there?
As opposed to what? Yes.
Okay, well, I don't know. There's a lot to... Don't give me attitude.
I'm giving you attitude because every time this happens, I explain the topic a little bit, and then you're like, do you want me to go in? Like, no, we could sit and stare at each other for the rest of the podcast.
It was really a little difficult today. Okay, so I think looking at a timeline from a societal perspective is one of the worst things that any of us can do. And I just feel like so much of my life was spent looking outward and seeing what other people were doing and feeling like I was trying to catch up, that it made me unsure of myself, unconfident, self-conscious, and not my true self, right? Mm-hmm. I was so busy running to keep up that I didn't really even know what I was doing, like where I was going. And so I think this idea of a timeline, like you're young to get married, you're old to get married, you're this, you're that, it's just all bad. I really feel like it's really bad. That everybody should just have their own goals. Like, you can have personal goals, you can have professional goals, you can have other goals, relationship goals, and that you... And sometimes your goal is, I don't know what my goal is, you know? And so you are on your own path. Mm-hmm. And I just think we all get mired in this. Did you see how successful that person is? Did you see they're the youngest person to ever cross the Atlantic? La, 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 la. You just see all this stuff. Like, that person, graduated from college at 17. And you're just like, okay, all right, that's not me. That's not me. I am my own person and I have my own timeline. And so, when you talk about people getting married early or late, it implies that there's a right time, right? A right or a wrong time.
I'm more
and there's
so
not.
I more so meant that in like a biological way. Like there is a right time biologically.
So, yes, but there are lots of ways to have children.
Right.
And so you could adopt children, you could go through
I meant
IVF,
more
you
in
could
like
surrogate.
the standard getting pregnant way.
Well, yes. I mean, biologically, there's a window, but it's a pretty big window for a lot of people. And if that window doesn't work, you've passed that window, I would like to hope that it's because you made a choice, or maybe you're having an issue, and so you're going to explore a different way.
Understood. I understand. But I still don't think that it's thought of like that.
No, I mean, well,
Like you see all of these. I mean, you can speak more about this
I was older
in your.
when I
Well,
had
that's
you
what I was
guys.
gonna say. Like you and Dad were like old parents for Will.
Yeah.
Like everybody in the. I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. Like I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. But more so, like in that situation, it does feel like, oh my. I mean, I might.
I don't think we were there were lots of people our age, but we were not in our 30s, right? So we had Will when I was 38.
Right.
So we were in our 40s
Right.
when Will was in elementary
But for a lot of
school.
people, that was their first kid.
Yes.
So there were
Yes.
younger parents. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I'm more so saying when you walk in, I mean, I distinctly remember this for Will. Like, when we walked in to drop Will off from school, it felt like everybody's parents were really young.
I didn't feel that way, but I felt like a lot of them, but not everyone's. It felt like
Okay,
it's
I
split.
was like
I
7.
know, but everyone seems older, young to you in a more.
I just felt like
drastic way.
I knew that my parents were not the same age as the rest of the parents.
Yes, and did that make you upset?
No, it didn't make me upset, but I'm saying as somebody who was able to understand and process that, I think it does. If you were a little bit more insecure or a little bit more like unsure of yourself, you could have the thought of like, oh my God, am I too old to have a kid that's this age? Because it seems like everybody else is so much younger than me.
No, I never had that feeling.
I'm not saying you did.
Oh.
I just said if you were more insecure, you could have had that feeling in the same way that
but you
I
could also have the feeling if you're very young. And
exactly.
have a kid.
Mom, I know. What I'm saying is that when everybody else seems to have like an average age
Yes.
with a standard deviation of like 2 or 3 above or below.
Yes.
If you fall outside of that, you feel a little bit like, am I in the right place?
Yes, but I feel like this is middle school all over again, right? Middle school is always like, just be in the middle. You don't want to stand out in any way. You want to fit in, just be in the middle.
I'm
And I
not
think the whole thing
saying
is
to
terrible.
sway either way. I'm saying for the psyche of, I'm sorry. Let's do an example. For me, Ava, imagine in all of these years, my college friend group, my besties, there's 12 of us. Okay. 5 of my friends are married by, let's say, 27.
Yes.
5 of my friends are engaged to be married by 30.
Yes.
And 2 of my friends are in long-term relationships and they live together.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's me and I'm single.
Yeah. It's
Right.
hard.
The standard deviation. I don't feel like I fall into any of those standard deviations.
I understand.
So
But-
then you start reflecting inward.
Yes, but what I'm saying is back to my initial. You have to focus on you. It's very hard to do it, right? It's very hard to focus on your own path and shut out the rest of the world. But you will be happier if you do that, because you get so wrapped up in thinking like, I'm behind, that you're not actually having a good time and going and living your life. And we're only here for a short period of time and you should be taking advantage of your time here, right? So I was one of the last of my friends to get married. I understand how hard it is. I too felt behind. I was one of the last to have children. I also understand how hard that is. But you have to just open your hands and give in and say, you know what? I'm on my path for a reason. And there were choices I also made. I was really into my career. There were things I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to move to New York. I wanted to be in magazines. There were things I wanted to do before I had kids. I wanted to travel a lot before I had kids because I didn't want to regret anything once I settled down and got married and had children, right? So I made a lot of choices. I think a lot of people do that, and sometimes it's hard to live with your choices. And so really it's very simple when you peel all this away. It's just hard to implement, but simple to say, which is everybody's a unique individual and everybody's on their own path.
I don't know if you would have felt that way if you were my age, though. I think you would have felt a little bit more stressed.
Meaning, but I was one of the last people to have a relationship and get married.
Okay. And that brought you no stress?
No, I was stressed all the time. I was like, I'm never going to meet somebody.
Exactly.
Yes, but Eva, what you know,
When
how
you're
people
in
always
it,
say-
your hindsight is 20/20 right now,
yes,
sister.
But what I'm saying is, people always say these things when you get older. If you had something to say to your younger self, what would you say?
Yeah.
And you know what mine was? My company did this icebreaker last week. What would you say to your younger self? And mine was, stop worrying so much. Stop worrying about all the ways that you're not keeping up. Stop worrying about all the things you're not accomplishing. And stop worrying about all the things that are not in your control. Just try and live your life and do what you think is right for you.
Yeah.
That's my whole idea of a timeline. A timeline is a terrible, terrible idea to have in your head. There is no timeline.
Okay. That being said, there are places where timelines I think are important, like work. Like if you're not moving up at a company.
Right. Let's call that a micro timeline.
I don't think that getting a promotion is a micro timeline.
Well, it's
If
in
you're
this
not
course
feeling
of your
growth.
Life, if your life is like a whole one timeline.
But if there are like milestones like having kids, getting married, whatever, that kind of stuff, like.
Yeah, I agree. Well, then you got to ask yourself questions. I think these are deeper questions, right? If you're feeling behind like, I'm not in a relationship, why aren't I? Maybe the question that you want to ask is, why aren't I not in that relationship? Do I not want a relationship? Do I want it and something's holding me back? I mean, these are all kinds of therapy questions.
I was just going to say, go to your therapist.
Right. These are therapy questions. Is it that I'm having trouble with intimacy? Am I having trouble with letting someone in? Am I too guarded? Why am I guarded? I mean, these are questions. Same thing with a job. I was stuck for a long time and stayed in a job that was unproductive. You got to ask yourself why and be willing to, like,
I do feel as though you do think of yourself as a late bloomer, though.
yes, I think
And
I was
that's
on
all,
my own path.
but that's timeline based to think of yourself as a late bloomer.
I don't know if I think of myself as I wouldn't say a late bloomer. I would not say I thought of myself as a late bloomer. I would say that I think of myself as someone who chose my own path and to go my own way.
Okay, you're a trailblazer.
I trailblazed my own way, not
Okay.
for other people, but maybe just for myself. So feeling late is unproductive. It's just going to make you feel worse. So my thought is, if you're feeling that way, you should really dig in with therapy or talk to other people. No, to figure
We
out
know
why
one
you're
of
feeling
those.
that. Yes, but no, because you could feel better, and maybe there is something standing in the way. Like maybe truly there is an obstacle in your way if you're feeling stuck in your life and you're not feeling like you're progressing in one or many areas. But for a lot of people, you're giving yourself a hard time over something that's so arbitrary and so random, just societally random, that
Yeah.
it just doesn't seem like it's productive for anybody.
Yeah, I agree.
So, what did you take from this conversation in your own personal
Follow
timeline?
your arrow. Follow
I mean,
your
does that make you feel
heart.
any better? Do you feel like this is all just kind of bullshit?
I don't feel any type of way. I don't feel early or late to anything. I feel like I actually
No,
have.
you said you started off by saying you were a little late because you had a boyfriend.
No.
later.
I know. I'm saying in that way. I felt like everybody else was telling me, like, oh, like your first relationship. Like, I just felt like I felt late, but not in a way that I was concerned about or anything. I just like noticed relative to other people, my timing was different.
I think sometimes it's very hard to stand against the tide, right? Because the tide of your friends or your community or whoever it is, it really swirls around you and can pull you in that bad direction. It is very hard to stand your ground and just be like, I know I'm doing the right thing for myself.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't have a little introspection about it, just to say, wait, is there something here that might be
Yeah.
a flag or a obstacle?
I guess we all pave our own path.
Yeah, it's not a line. I think of it as being just random dots in a...
I'll give it one excerpt before we end.
Please.
Speaking of being early and late, I was telling Natalie this story the other day. Actually, I wasn't telling Natalie. I was retelling this story with Natalie the other day. And we both distinctly remember that the first time I got my period, you didn't believe me because I was so much younger than you were.
It's true.
And that was so funny because you thought I was lying. But also, sometimes you surprise them all.
It's so true. What? I thought you were like 13.
Yeah.
No, it was right before your bat mitzvah.
Yeah, it was when I was
Yes,
taking
13.
the test to get into Bard.
Yes.
And she didn't believe me. Natalie had to get on the phone and say, this is not a joke.
Well, for all of you late period getters out there,
I was convinced that there was something wrong with me because you got it so much later. And I was like, I'm adopted, obviously.
I was in high school. I was 16. I was old.
Also,
That's so true. What did Natalie say when you said that?
it's the iconic story that you didn't believe me.
I didn't believe
We
you.
were sitting.
It's true. I
We were
was like,
sitting at the
"What?"
diner, and you
I
didn't
was
believe
shocked.
me. I thought I
did.
pooped my pants
Yes.
during the Bard test.
Okay.
And Natalie was like experienced. Like Natalie was an early bloomer.
Yes, Natalie was an early bloomer in that way. A biologically early bloomer.
Oh my God. Yeah. Natalie was so much, but see, like even that kind of like sets the precedent. Like
'Cause she was so
Natalie was
tall.
so much taller
Yeah.
than everybody. Like as she looked so much older, like it
did.
kind of like, I think that probably shaped her identity for a little bit. Like she was like, oh my God, I'm the mature one. Even though like
Yes.
there was nothing other than her physicality that was
Yeah,
mature.
it's true. She was tall, and so you did think.
Yeah. And now I'm
tall
taller.
equals mature. It's
Yeah.
funny.
And now I'm taller.
That's true.
Okay, so thanks so much for listening. Follow
Thanks,
us
everybody.
at Totally
Follow us.
Unqualified
Call in.
Podcast. Speak pipe us in. Shout out to EJ for calling in. Big Dog. Keep these up. We'll see if you get featured.
Yep. Thanks everybody.
The
for
thing
listening.
about Big Dog, I will just say in the final seconds, is that we don't listen to his beforehand, so we don't know what we're getting.
Exactly. It's like a nice surprise. You never quite
Except
know.
he's gonna say something controversial one day, and we're gonna have to cut him out.
Does that mean that Dad is
He-
Forrest Gump?
we might have
Because
to
it's like
censor
a box
him.
of chocolate?
We might have to censor Big Dog.
We may have to. We may have to block him. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.